Today on our show, as they say in Nigeria, we have a very, very big fish. But I know that you'll be the first one to say, what do I mean?
Exactly.
So, we have a very big fish, a Nigerian who has become an epitome of the Nigerian spirit. A Nigerian who is proud of being Nigerian, but even in that pride, he's also still very proud of being an Igbo man. He's one of those that have signposted Nigeria in the world map, and it's my pleasure to welcome to our show Chief Dr. Pete Edochie.
Thank you
Pete,
very
you're welcome
much.
to our show.
Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
God bless you.
Always a pleasure.
Darling.
Yeah, let me take you back a little bit. A lot of people in Nigeria, when they think about Pete Edochie, they just see one big star who just fell from the skies. A lot of them didn't quite know where you started. Tell me about your broadcasting years. That was actually when you became a star, before you became the mega star.
Yeah, thank you very much. I joined broadcasting in 1967. I ran away from the North during the crisis, and I was lucky to have returned with my life. And I joined broadcasting on the 14th of February, 1967. That's Valentine's Day. I don't forget it easily, you know. And I rose to be a director. I mean, it's to encapsulate my impressions along the line. So, and while I was the director, there were programs I created and immortalized, so to speak, like Instant Party, Instant Party music from the masters, which featured only classical music from great composers like Peter Tchaikovsky, Ludwig van Beethoven, Mozart, Schubert, Haydn, Handel, and the rest of them, Bach. And even till this moment, people still phone me to request I go back to the program. And I said, no, it's almost 20 years or more since I left broadcasting, and I'm not likely to perhaps attract sponsorship for the program, you know. Even though I will not lack material for it, I believe I have more classical music in my house than, well, most Nigerians, let me just put it that way. So, and I think it was while I was still in broadcasting that I did Things Fall Apart, which I think introduced me to the entire world as something of an actor. Put it that way, it won plenty of laurels. And so the moment I left broadcasting, I got into the movie industry. It embraced me with both arms, and I haven't gone back.
Yeah, we are not going there yet. We are not going to your movie career yet. Let's go back to broadcasting. I mean, you were among the best. I mean, when you talk about music from the masters, I also can talk about it because I remember that era.
Thank you.
When you presented that program. Not only that you had developed it, you also presented it for many years. When you sit back these days and listen to radio, do you get a feeling that it is still the same broadcasting of those years when you held sway behind the microphone and kept people, thousands and thousands of people, glued, with their ears to the radio?
That's a very good question, Vin. Broadcasting today is no longer what it used to be. I must tell you the truth. In spite of the fact that the broadcasters today have access to all the information they want, they have not managed to inject professional expertise into their broadcasting. Let me tell you what I mean. When we went for the All Africa Games in 1973, I was at the commentary booth with Ernest Okonkwo, Ishola Fulonsho, Inca Craig, and they're all dead now. And we had materials on all the established athletes at our fingertips. Yeah, you talked about Kipchoge Keino, we could tell you all about him. You talked about Alisa Anum from Ghana, we could. You talked about John Akibua, the hodler, we could. I don't see any such thing these days. The last time that we had maybe a repeat of the All Africa Games in Nigeria, 30 years after, I was listening to commentaries and I was disappointed, but I hung my head in shame. Yes. I was hurt. I said, look, this is my profession that is being scandalized. Then, if you were asked to go and interview somebody, no matter who he is, you did a lot of groundwork before you proceeded to conduct the interview. If you were asked to interview a psychiatrist, you had the opportunity, it was provided for you. Go to the library, read up whatever you can on psychiatry, so that you're not at sea when you're interviewing that person. I remember on one occasion, people were interviewing the great Zeke on national television. He looked at all the people interviewing him. He imagined the age they may have done in history, and he pitched his answer beyond them, and they were all nodding. Zeke said, during the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648, and I looked at all those people, none of them knew what he was talking about, right? Yeah, and I pitied them. If I were on that point, I would have nodded my head because I know about the Treaty of Westphalia. But you see, all right, at a stage in a political evolution, maybe in the immediate past, history was expunged from the curriculum. It's a colossal tragedy.
A disservice.
Come on, if you don't know where you're coming from, there's no way you're going to know where to stop. To imagine it alone that history was taken out of the curriculum. Whoever may have recommended that, come on. You want to extinguish a people, that's what it means, and so you see, sometimes I don't blame the broadcasters today very much. I don't, because I don't know the kind of orientation they had. But in our own case, oh hell, you were grilled properly. Like I said, if you were going to interview a psychiatrist, you're going to interview a lawyer, a doctor, no matter the field of the person you're going to interview, right? You had a compulsive knowledge of that field at your fingertips. It is no longer the same thing today. So I'm not sure I still feel nostalgic when I listen to them. I don't.
Things fall apart. Yes, for those of us in the southeast at then, we knew Pete Edochie, of course. We knew you had become director at ABS. We knew you presented program, you participated in some radio drama and all that. But for the rest of Nigeria and the world, not many of them knew Pete Edochie. So how did it happen You know, I've heard stories, somebody called you and this happened. Tell us the story. How did you get involved in Things Fall Apart?
There was an engineer who worked with us in broadcasting, and he's dead now, Engineer Ugu. He was in charge of, I think, zone C or zone E or one of these zones in the NTA. And it was that zone that decided to do Things Fall Apart. That was when Walter Ofonagoro was the Federal Minister of Information and Culture. He bought the idea, and they proceeded to do the script. Ema late now, and I think the director, Adiele Onyedibia, did the script, and a lot of people were invited for the role of Decay Okonkwo in Things Fall Apart. I was invited to the audition. The audition was held at the, I think, one of the auditorium in University of Nigeria here in Enugu. I was invited. I actually was going to do my program on radio, so I had my records with me, and the moment I walked into the place, a lady called Dr. Mrs. Linda, who was lecturing at the University of Calabar, who was invited to handle locations and I think logistics, etc. The moment she looked at me, she said, if this man could act, that's the man we want. And I walked into the place. I had never read the book, nothing. And I saw a couple of people from Lagos. I remember Iria Benahimio was there. I think Edochie, I'm not so sure, but I think they were all there. And we were given the script to read, some script. And all the others we were reading. And the moment I read part of my script, the woman said, this is the person we want. He walks like him, he's tall enough, blah, blah, blah. Then, of course, I was much younger, and I didn't know that I was working with a spring. I was working like my father, but I mean, it didn't mean anything to me until I was told that that was how Okonkwo in Things Fall Apart was working as recorded by Chinua Achebe. And that was what Engineer Ugu saw before recommending me. But the people who were doing it did not bother to contact me. So they did episode 1, and Ugu saw it and said, burn this thing. Go and look for Peter Edochie. He works with his wife in the same complex. He is on radio, the wife is on TV. Go and look for him. That was how I was contacted. Otherwise, it would have been done without me. So the moment I got in there and I was selected, we had to go repeat episode 1 that was done by Emma. And the moment I got on stage, both the producer and the white lady, Dr. Mrs. Linda, most of the people present, they said, come on, that's the man we want, our job is done. I said, thank you very much. Give me the book now to go and read. I've never read it, I didn't read it in school. So I went and read it, and we went on. At a stage, it's a very funny one now. 2 characters from Village Headmaster who were part of the production, Justice Esiri and Eleimi, Funsha Adiolu, they began to bluff. They would always threaten to leave the set and all that. And at a stage, I called the producer. I said, listen, I am better than these characters, let them go. The script is about Okonkwo, and I am Okonkwo, let them go. There's nobody who can bluff me when it comes to English or interpretation. I have more Shakespeare in my head than any character I know in this country. I said, come on, let them go. Let them go. That was when they stopped their threat. Then Esiri came back to me and he said, look, you don't act like a big actor. You're a very big actor. You should be bluffing when you're... I said, no. I will not bluff. This is our production. There's no way I can bluff anybody. Let's get it right first. Then we can bluff after all, And then, afterwards. So we began to shoot. And as the production progressed, we were able to tell that we were actors operating at various levels, of competence, by the way now. So the film came out. The BBC flew into Nigeria to interview me because of the success of the production. Then they flew across the Atlantic to interview Chinua Achebe. And Chinua said, a lot of people have tried this production before, but the only person that gave it an interpretation after my heart is Peter Edochie. He is Okonkwo. And from that moment, I've been Okonkwo till now, Well, the NTA, I signed a contract which was not honored by the NTA, no. They said, each time we broadcast this thing, we're giving 15% of the proceeds, and nobody ever gave me a cover, but it's okay.
Yes, I was going to, because today, a lot of on-air people, a lot of actors and actresses, the first thing they talk about is money. And when you told us the story, I didn't hear anything about money. What was driving you? Two things. What was driving you to jump into this production without the money aspect? And two, what was driving you when you told those colleagues of yours that, look, this is our production. It's not time to bluff?
First of all, I never got into that production because of what I was going to be paid. I was paid all right. That was not the motivation. That was not the propulsion. I wanted to make an impression as an actor. Nigerians were used to seeing actors on national television, mainly people who were doing Village Headmaster and a few others, I can't remember most of them now, but the most prominent then was Village Headmaster, and we were not part of it. Nothing that was originating from the East here was ever on national television. Or maybe Zebrudaya, or I don't,
Zebrudaya.
So I said, okay. I got into acting in 1962 when I was in my third year in St. John's College, Kaduna, and I was on set to do Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. That was my introduction to Shakespeare. And after that, I had to do Macbeth, I had to do Julius Caesar, I had to do Richard III, But that was how I got into it. Now, there was nobody here then who knew that Peter J was this kind of person, right? If I had any theatrical competence, there was no way I could prove it until I went on set. I remember the Commissioner for Information then, Dr. Paul Modum, he called me. He said, Pete, this is an opportunity for you to put our name on the world map. I said, I'll do my best. And I did. And after that production, I think, at the risk of sounding immodest, I won the hearts of so many people. So when I left broadcasting, I was embraced by Nollywood. Even though, by the time we did Things Fall Apart, there was nothing like Nollywood, no. Nollywood came into existence with...
Living in Bondage.
Living in Bondage, thank you very much. By Ken Nibwe. And that was when Nollywood came into existence. And we had done Things for about 7 years before then, So Well, I'm still in it. I mean...
So does it bother you that today, when you meet a young person that maybe you think they have some talent, that the first thing they talk about is the money?
I don't blame them. I blame the circumstances under which they were raised. Today in the country, a man gets into politics. Before you know it, he's built his wonderful house, houses, not house, but expensive cars, etc., and hell, that's somebody you were sitting down with, one-on-one, as pals, mug mates, getting into politics and becoming larger than life. So the emphasis now became money. How much can I get? So if you say, hi, how are you doing? The person extends his hand, money first, before I tell you how I'm doing, right? I don't blame them at all. I don't. And I'm telling you the truth, I don't, yeah. It's what the country has prepared them for. The country has misplaced emphasis. It has affected them, yeah. It's money, money, money now. It was not like that in our own day.
I was going to talk about politics at some point in this conversation, but I think maybe we should start talking about it now.
Good.
In the past 8 years, if I'm wrong, please correct me, you've paid more attention to politics, not as a politician, but putting out your opinion about what you think, about who should lead and how we should be led. What brought you to that point? Because you've been picked all these years, but and I'm sure I noticed this in the last couple of years, you are more outspoken about what is going on in the country. Why are you taking that position?
You get to a stage in your life when people begin to look on you as a role model. Societal expectations compel moral rectitude. You want to tell it as it is because people accord you a lot of credence. And that's what it is. During the past 8 years, I mean, we who belong to this part of the country, we received no attention at all. Buhari deliberately ignored us, right? He knows why he did it. I don't know. But I will tell you, he ignored us. I mean, I look at the man who was in charge of transport, the man from River State, Amechi. Now you want to resuscitate the railways, you want to revive the railways, you cut off the southeast. Who are the people who travel most? Who are the busiest traders in the country? The southeasterners. You cut them off, right? And then you turn around to tell me that you are doing me some good by cutting me off. That doesn't make much sense. I mean, I am 77 now. If I can't tell the truth now, I mean, how many more years have I got on earth? I mean, I don't care who is the president. No. Wherever you come from is your business. I don't really give a damn. But for God's sake, take a good look at this thing, evaluate it, imagine your involvement with it, and then ask yourself, am I really doing what I ought to do? Yeah. Buhari ignored us completely. I mean, he was not sorry for it. He said it that he was going to give, I think, 97% or some kind of mathematics that was, to those who voted for him, then 5%, He ignored us completely, right? And people like us were compelled by virtue of our position in society to at least voice our grievances, right? Without insulting anybody, just telling it as it is. We are being sidelined. We are being marginalized. We are being ignored. We are being hurt. And, well, he's off the stage now, right? Good. And Tinubu has taken over. It's still the same party. But you see, Tinubu came in, he made an Igbo man I think, put an Igbo man in charge of the Navy. You are now you thinking
Became a service chief.
Yeah, talking about the service chief now. You put an Igbo man there. You made an Igbo man the Minister of Works. It's never been done in the history of this country. And the person he made Minister of Works, the very competent engineer, Umahi, who was formerly the governor of Ebonyi State. Go to Ebonyi State today. You will not believe that Ebonyi State is part of the Southeast. Ebonyi State is the most developed part of the Southeast today as I'm talking with you. And all these things happen, well, okay, progressively, showed a lot of commitment by all those who ran the affairs of Ebonyi State, right? Then Tinubu made him Minister of Works. For that, I am very happy. And I owe Tinubu my gratitude. He has my support for that. He did not ignore us like his predecessor did. And I hear that somebody from this part is also in charge of FEMA or something, never done. Is it FEMA or never? What is it, FEMA?
Yeah, the maintenance agency.
And all that. Okay, right now, Aba has its own source of electricity. It couldn't have happened under Buhari, no. You look at the problem that the country has. And look, Vin, if you were born in England, you are a Briton. If you were born in America, you're an American. You are free to contest any political office where you were born, either in America, in Britain, France, you name it. It's not the same thing here. It's not. And it is part of our problem. We inject religion, we inject tribe. These are divisive forces. There is no way they can glue Nigeria together. And that is why I think it's particularly painful that we're running this country along those lines and we expect progress. Vin, it never happens like that. It does not. It does not. Like I said, if you were born in England, you are a Briton. The person who is running England today, I think, is an Indian.
Yeah, Indian descent. Yeah.
Thank you, right? The person who is vice president in America, this lady, has Indian blood.
Is it because we lack a sense of nationhood? Or is it because we don't want to change things in Nigeria? What do you think is the reason why this kind of behavior is exhibited by leaders?
You have blocked your eyes and head to progress. Most of the people who wind up running the affairs of this country have a lot to do with the outside world. Somehow, whatever experience they may have gathered from international circles never gets reflected on the policies that they evolve in the country. And look, okay, we are talking about handshake across the Niger. The governor of Enugu State employed, I think, a Yoruba man to be in charge of the broadcasting house, right? Good. A few days ago, a Yoruba man in Anambra was promoted permanent secretary. Vin, that is exactly what handshake across the Niger means. Look, people keep shouting about restructuring. Nobody ever sits down to tell you what restructuring is all about. It's always in their head. Just say it because others are saying it, right? Somebody who is born in the north should be able to contest any office in the north, in spite of his religion. That is how a country progresses. I mean, okay, Tinubu must know that a Yoruba man is running the broadcasting house in Enugu. Tinubu must know that a Yoruba man has been appointed permanent secretary in Anambra State, right? I mean,
But Tinubu also appointed an Igbo man economic advisor in Lagos.
beautiful. You know, why don't we expand this gesture so that it becomes the norm? Why don't we just do it so that people from other parts of the country can emulate us? Because, I mean, if, for example, you, Vin, you were born in the North and you're a commissioner in the North, right? Anybody who comes from the North will be close to me. Because you, as an Igbo man who was born there, you have been given a position there. A big political office is what you're handling. That is what brings the country together. We're not using our heads. Look, I was invited to Lagos for the birthday celebration of, I forgot, this lady's, the husband answers a Decay, but it's not really, it's from River State.
Okay.
You know, I'll remember his name as the production goes on, you know. That same day I landed in Lagos, there was so much activity. I was told that Dangote's petrol station or something was to be commissioned on that day.
Yeah, the refinery.
Good! And I said, God, I thank you, Lord. It means that the price of petrol will drop. It was commissioned. Only for me to learn later that it has not even been complete. You know, God! You see, why must we fool people in the country? Why? So when people say that Nigerians are fraudsters, etc., we feel it. But we deliberately create circumstances that attract that kind of condemnation. Have you noticed that we just finished AFCON? Is it AFCON, yeah. African something, Africa football?
The championship.
Good. There was no Igbo, there was no Nigerian who was invited as a referee. There was none. There was none. You had referees from Namibia, referees from there was none. Nigeria is the biggest of all the countries that were competing there. There was no referee. Why? Not because we don't qualify, no. But how we are assessed by the international community. They can't afford to be honest, don't include them. It's painful for me.
Well, some people, they've started a new argument that maybe it's because of the type of government we are running. And there's this new agitation for us to return to the parliamentary system. You were a young person, even in the First Republic. Do you think that it is about government? The challenge we have in the country is about the type of government? Or do you think truly that parliamentary should be what will help us better?
It's not the system that is wrong, the people running the system. You know, it's like buying a new car and engaging a driver. He drives recklessly and keeps hitting everything he comes across. It is not the fault of the vehicle. It's the fault of the driver, right? Good. I mean, if you engage another driver to handle the same car, he becomes very careful. You will now see the difference between that driver and the previous one. There is nothing wrong with the system we are operating. No. The people who are operating the system, they are the people who are creating the problem. Yeah. Like I said, go on.
Let me just ask you two questions. One, you are worried about how the Southeasterners are treated in Nigeria, and you've said it openly. You're not hiding your
my grouse.
Your grouse. I don't want to say your anger.
No, grouse.
Then, two, you're also worried about how the country is being led. And I will ask you in very few sentences, what would be your suggestion for how the Igbos are treated in Nigeria and how the leadership is, forgive me, in quotes, messing up the growth of the country?
I can talk with some measure of competence on the kind of treatment that the Igbos have been subjected to. Without provocation, I don't know why we have been, well, I don't know why we are being treated like that. I don't know. Subjected to all forms of inhuman treatment, all forms of tribulation. We are blessed. As a matter of fact, it's a common saying that if you go to any part of the world, you don't find an Igbo man come out. You know, there's no life there. I believe that. You know, we are being treated just like the Jews. And by the way, I hear that we have some affiliation with the Jews. That must be true, right? Because you look at the kind of punishment, the kind of treatment the Jews are subjected to, you ask yourself, what have these people done? Okay. They killed Christ, right? Good. I want to feel that the origin, the genesis of their problems, you know. Otherwise, I mean, Hitler killed 6 million of them, right? I mean, we borrowed this thing from America, right? America has been operating this system for God knows how long, right? Good. They don't have the kind of problem we have, right? We are responsible for it. I mean, we always place religion and tribe first in whatever we do. And these are divisive factors. That's what I'm trying to make you understand, you know. The man who is running England today, I mean, Britain today, is of Indian descent, and you know. So
the problem, from your point of view, is this politics of indigenship and citizenship?
Yeah, that's right. That's the major. You see, it's a major plank of discontent. If you ask me, you know, a lot of people believe that for as long as these two factors determine whatever we do, there is no way we can progress in the country. There is no way. Okay. Before Buhari's team came in, Jonathan was in charge. Now, before Jonathan left, he convoked a confab. And people were drawn from all parts of the country. On the eve of his departure, they came out to their deliberations. Buhari took over, and those deliberations were spiked. You see, you know, I keep asking myself, what really is wrong with this country? Okay, no matter how bad a man is, he can always serve as a good example of a bad man. That's what I was taught when I was doing journalism. So that nobody is totally bad, nobody's completely bad. In politics, we condemn ourselves so much that, I mean, we believe that nobody is good in politics. That's not what it ought to be. It's not vain. I mean, okay, today people are suggesting we have local state police, we have police for local government. All these suggestions were made during Buhari's time. They were all turned down. Now, because we cannot contain the ravages of banditry and all that, we are going back to all those suggestions that were made, and they are now being considered by the House. That's what I'm telling you. When Buhari was on, any suggestion you made from here was interpreted as being motivated by the desire to unseat Buhari, which is nonsense. I mean, if you're doing something that is not very good and somebody says, look, don't you think it will be better if you did it this way? Why don't you give that idea a trial? I mean, thank you very much, give it a trial and see how it works. You know, you see, When we were training in the BBC, we were taught how to pronounce words, names, etc. Somebody said, I come from Barbados, and the Englishman said, eh? Why don't you try calling it Barbados? Barbados. But that's the right pronunciation. I come from Jamaica. It's Jamaica. You know, you are there to learn. So when somebody tells you, try it this way, right? It's a very polite way of saying the one you did previously is not the right one, right? Okay. All the people, if you suggest from the Christian South to a Muslim president, why don't you try this thing this way? The general impression is that you want to unseat him. So how can we progress? How can we? It is not the political system that we operate that. It's the people who run the system.
The people we've recruited.
That's right. The people we recruited to run the system, right?
Okay.